Hey everyone, how's it going? We've actually seen some leaks about the Duviri and what kind of things we're going to be getting out of Duviri. Specifically, supposedly we're getting these items that can actually unlock an Incarnate Tree on the certain weapons. For example, the Skana, the Lato, and also the Paris. There's also a bunch of other weapons as well, but obviously, as someone who uses the Paris Prime almost borderline exclusively, I am going to, of course, really hyper-focus on these particular rewards. Now, we have what appears to be some indication of what the Incarnate Tree is all about, but it's not an Incarnate form, so just keep that in mind. It does not appear that the Paris bows are going to have some sort of new look as well. On top of that, it does appear right now that it's going to be working on all versions of the Paris bow, so not only the Paris regular, but also the Mark 1 Paris, and also, and this is the most important one, the Paris Prime. Obviously, the weapon that I've used about 35% of the time that I've played this game, or something along those lines. So that's, of course, going to be very, very important. All right. Now, I'm just going to quickly go through what appears to be the Incarnate Tree right now. Obviously, this is all leaks, no jutsu. It is subject to change. It's all placeholder. In the end, everything I'm talking about could be very well bullshit. We'll just have to see. Alright, so we'll start off with Tier 1 being the first selection of two options. The first one has been labeled as a big projectile unsilenced. I can only assume, for the time being, my guess would be that that means that if you choose this particular option, the Paris Prime would do significantly more damage, but it would no longer be a silenced weapon. Thus, you're basically shooting a very, very big arrow. Could be something interesting. I mean, it'll definitely work for me because I almost never really care for the silenced part of the Paris Prime. I'm always basically using the Paris Prime in such a way that everyone knows I'm here. The alternative for Tier 1 at the present moment is apparently an increase in overshield. So it's almost as if DE was looking at me specifically. It was like, how about we make a Tier 1 that pretty much caters exclusively to Katagari, the guy who pretty much goes gung-ho with the Paris Prime anyway, and also uses a Warframe that likes to have overshield like Mac. Let's have a look at Tier 2. There's actually three options available for Tier 2. So the first one is an increase in the fire rate after punching through the environment. I assume that means that if you shoot through a wall, you suddenly have a faster fire rate. This is important for the Paris Prime as well, because that basically means you can draw your arrow back faster and shoot. Unlike a weapon like the Natarok, having fast fire rate on the Paris Prime is universally a good thing. So this might end up being an Incarnon Tree thing that basically would mean that I don't really need to use something like Prime Shred, but we'll just have to see what happens when that comes out. Second Tier 2 option is going to be a lower field of view. Possibly that just means less zoom, because people actually don't really like to have as much zoom. Or does that mean more zoom? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think that's actually going to mean. Does that mean more zoom or less zoom? Let me know in the comments. And then Tier 2C, the third option, is apparently going to be increased projectile speed. That should generally make the Paris bows a lot easier for other people to use, because obviously the projectile, well, the bow being a projectile weapon is oftentimes a reason why people don't particularly like to use these kind of projectile weapons, because it's a little bit harder to aim at enemies, especially enemies that are running around a lot. So having increased projectile speed should be something that can help with that particular problem. Alright, let's have a look at Tier 3, the final tier. Of course, there are, again, three options to choose from, and they all seem to be pretty banging options. So we'll start off with the first one being crit chance and crit damage to enemies that are at full health. I would guess that means that when you are going up against enemies that have all of their health, your crit chance and your crit damage is increased by a not insignificant amount. If we look at some other Incarnate weapons right now, like Fenmore and stuff like that, they have like some pretty ludicrously high levels of increase in their damage. For example, I think it's the Fenmore has, and I think the Latum has it as well. It has that whole like plus 500% damage when, oh no, plus 2000% damage on non-crits. So I would take a wild guess and say that your crit chance and crit damage may very well be increased by some absurd levels like 150% crit chance and 300% crit damage. And even then, I'm kind of just like lowballing it right now. I don't know what it's going to be, but it could be something getting absolutely nutso against enemies at full health. And that definitely caters to me, because I tend to just one-tap a lot of enemies, so... Well, I mean, I guess I don't really need it, but still, I'll take it. Being able to do 7 million damage, or being able to do 10 million damage without even thinking. That might end up being the calculus that I'm making. The second option for Tier 3 is allegedly going to be an increase in status. It's currently written as high status, but I'm going to take a wild stab and say that probably means an increase in status chance. And that's going to work for me really, really well, because my Riven, my almost god tier, well actually probably is god tier Paris Riven, does have a negative on the status chance, which kind of screws me over because I do want to use Passage Ball as much as I can. So if this particular Incarnate option increases my status chance by a very high amount, let's say 100%, then that would basically mean that I could use Passage Ball and constantly heal off the Paris Prime, for example. That could be ludicrously strong. We'll see what ends up being the actual idea. And then, of course, for the final Tier 3 option, it is written as damage increases on each consecutive hit. Stacks up to Y. And I wonder how the stacks are going to be maintained, or whether the stacks are going to disappear if you miss. Is this going to be a pure skill-based option? Could be interesting. And how much damage does it increase by? And what is the maximum stack? We're going to have to see what those particular options are going to end up being, but it could be very interesting that my Paris Prime could very well be seeing a huge buff thanks to the Incarnate Trees. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. Does the Paris Prime even need this? I mean, I know my Paris Prime doesn't need this, but maybe your Paris Prime might need this. Let me know in the comments. Otherwise, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more Warframe content, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.